what America was and what it can become. This is Liberty Town Hall.
Really glad you're here today on this Liberty Town Hall. There's Glenn Wilson. I'm Greg Marshall. You know, we still don't know the answer to what happened in Benghazi. You know, to a large extent, we don't even know what happened in the Arab Spring. The entire movement has been something of a mystery. We ended up supporting people we didn't know who they were. We hadn't handshaked yet, and we're certainly not doing a good job even after it's over. But we did encourage it. Out of nowhere, we just started encouraging it. Did people know more than they said they did? How about the Benghazi issue? What is going on with what appears to be a cover-up? They all claim it's not in D.C., but think about it logically. They started telling us that this thing was a protest because of a video that virtually nobody ever saw or heard of.
Greg, forget what the reasons were. Forget whether it was a video.
I can't totally forget it, and I'll tell you why for a second. Just real quick. Here's the deal. All I've got to say on it is this. When do you bring to a spontaneous protest grenade launchers
RGPs
and
yeah,
RPGs?
right.
When do you do that?
I mean, common sense says it wasn't a spontaneous riot over some stupid video trailer that nobody even knew about before this was made national by our president saying it was a video. American sovereign property was attacked. Our diplomats, our embassy ambassador was murdered, flat outright. Hours went by, repeated calls for help. People offered to go and were ordered to stand down. Just on them facts alone, our sovereign nation was attacked, Greg, and we said and did nothing about it.
Nations have went to war, Glenn, for less than that. Went to war.
I just watched a special done, it was BGA, it was I guess a conference of journalisms, and this lady did a nice presentation on what's going on over there in the Muslim world. And she said that we're missing the reasons what the problems are. It's a fundamental thing. It's not like it's a card-carrying member of Al-Qaeda. It's a thought, a theology,
an ideal.
An idea. Just like the American Revolution was an idea that took place long before the American Revolutionary War took place, before the actual first shots were fired. It was an idea that people didn't have to have a membership for. And we took on, at the time, the world's greatest nation, the most powerful military in the world. And we took them on, and we won based on that idea. And we're over there ignoring what's going on, what they're telling us every day in their news reports. They're saying it loud and clear. This is an idea, a belief structure. And it's growing, and we're doing nothing to address it. Why are we there? That would be a good question. Are we nation building? Are we trying to turn them over to a capitalist Christian society?
I don't know about Christian, but certainly capitalist.
Well, maybe they don't want us there. That might be part of it.
Part of it might be we need to ask that question. And I don't think that question has even been asked.
No, the president of Afghanistan, he was in this video clip, and he said since the last few years, it's gotten worse and worse and worse. There's been more terrorist attacks. And by that, he defined terrorist attacks being more attacks made on civilian population and on their allies, again with us. You have the generals saying, wait a minute, we're being attacked from the guy standing next to us that we just trained. How can I possibly defend my troops when the people that are in line with them are the ones killing them now? They call them green on brown attacks, right? Brown on green, whatever you want to call it, right? This is crazy, Greg. Our troops need to be done in a cohesive environment that says, I can trust the guy behind me. When I was in the military, that was the number one thing. I knew the guy in the foxhole next to me had my back, that we could count on. No matter what happened to him, I would be there for him.
What was the most recent historic example of this before? Think about it. command from D.C. giving orders when and when you cannot engage, having to work along people that you didn't know who you could trust and who was with the enemy. What does that sound like to you?
It sounds like everything has been going on since Iraq.
I would go a step further.
Yes.
A little place called Vietnam.
Vietnam, again, yes. But there was no correlation between Vietnam and what's going on today. You see, because...
But it's the same kind of situation, though. Look at how you describe it. It's just old insurgency happening all over again.
They don't consider themselves an insurgency.
Oh, of course they didn't. We didn't either at the time.
They were in power before we got there. They're just thinking they're getting power back. They're not the insurgents, for crying out loud. But the difference between Vietnam and what's going on today is when the battle was over and we won or lost, we didn't have people that wanted to come here and attack us. They just wanted us out of their country. So, okay, call Vietnam a neutral or a draw at best. I think we lost. But either way...
Well, it's because we quit when we never got serious about winning. And I'm not sure that we're serious about winning the hearts and minds or the battle of these wars today that we're doing.
We're not. But when we come back, I want to get into just what happened in Benghazi. I mean, there was a whole timeline of events that have come out now that are facts, not gray area, no propaganda about it. So when we come back, I want to get into the actual timeline of events that actually happened, Greg.
We'll do it as soon as we return. Stand by. There's more to come on Liberty Town Hall.
Stop switching back and forth between drill bits and driver heads. Bo Ryle's here for the halftime drill driver, the innovative new way to drill, flip, and drive in only 5 seconds. You'll never have to change a bit in the middle of a job again. And you can go from drilling to driving, Phillips to flat, any combination for any task. The breakthrough, our patent-pending swivel head that flips and locks, giving you precision performance from drilling to driving in seconds. You get the halftime drill driver for only $19.95. I'll even include 4 Phillips heads, 4 flat, and 4 drill bits, no charge. Call now and receive this durable carry case free. Call or click right this minute and get a second complete set free. Just pay separate processing and handling. You get it all for the low, low price of just $19.95.
To order halftime drill driver for $19.95 plus processing and handling, call 1-800-374-7875 or log on to gethalftime.com.
As we continue, we're looking at a timeline of what happened up until the Benghazi attack. Let's take a look at some of the breakdowns of this one. Now, this is just stuff being admitted to by major media. CBS had this version of the timeline. I'll go over theirs because it's a major media outlet and shows you that this is being at least talked about now, at least some on the major levels. Let's take a look at the breakdown. In December of 2011, there was a terrorist plot thwarted at that time, but Benghazi's emergency planners warned that many Islamic terrorists were still operating in that area. On March of 2012, the U.S. Embassy...
Hold on, wait a minute. Let's back up on this one for just a second, Greg.
Sure.
Our president got out and said Al-Qaeda's on the run. We've cut off the head of the snake, and it's a dwindling force now. Mm-hmm. You're saying
well,
this report...
they were saying Islamic terrorists. They weren't specific as to who at that time.
Well, is there a difference between Al-Qaeda and Islamic terrorists?
Yes.
Well,
because it could be Hezbollah, it could be Hamas. There's many organizations.
Okay, but they're all still doing the same goal.
They're all exactly. But
really
Islamic terrorist is the umbrella, and then different groups are within it.
Okay.
And they weren't being specific as to who it was.
Okay,
I agree that it was Al Qaeda, but they weren't specific.
Whatever you want to label it, then. Okay, let's go on. Because I really don't think we've even come close to stopping Al Qaeda. Like the one lady said, we've gotten all the dumb ones. The smart ones that have been there fighting for 11 years, those are the real leaders now. You know, and she was interviewing one that was a foot soldier a few years ago, and now he's one of the commanders. And he's saying that, you know, yeah, even he says the dumb ones got killed off. We've managed to kill off all the dumb ones. The real enemy's still there. So anyway, keep going.
In March of this year, the U.S. Embassy in Tripoli led security officer Eric Nordstrom and requires, he said it required additional security, but later testified that he has received no response.
Isn't
that was
amazing?
In March.
No response for asking for additional security. Keep going.
April 10th of 2012, an explosive device is thrown at a convoy carrying UN envoy Ian Martin.
Yep.
May 22nd of 2012, a rocket-propelled grenade hit the offices of the International Red Cross.
I'm sure this is all about, you know, a videotape so far. So,
On June 6th, an IED exploded outside of the Benghazi consulate compound. On June 11th, an RPG hit a convoy carrying the British ambassador. The UK closed its consulate for logical reasons. Colonel Wood, the military site security team commander, is in Benghazi at that point and helps there with emergency response. July of 2012, Mr. Nordstrom again requests additional security. We're told by a cable signed by Ambassador Stevens dated July 9th. On July 9th, the ambassador sent that same cable asking for continued help from the military and from the State Department through mid-September, saying that benchmarks for a drawdown have not been yet and the team's not extended. In early August, the State Department removed the last of the 3 6-man State Department security teams and a 16-man military SST team from Libya. In August 2nd, Ambassador Stevens sends a cable to D.C. requesting protective detail bodyguard positions, saying that the added guards will, quote, will fill the vacuum of security personnel who currently at post, who will be leaving within the next month and will not be replaced.
right.
He called the security conditions in Libya unpredictable, volatile, and violent. Then, on August 8th, a cable from the ambassador to D.C. says a series of violent incidents have dominated the political landscape and calls them targeted and indiscriminate attacks. On August 27th, the State Department issued a travel warning for Libya, citing the threat of assassinations and car bombings in Benghazi and Tripoli.
Sure sounds like the, you know,
They
the
knew
radicals
something
are,
was happening.
Sure sounds like we're getting a control on that radical problem over there. Yep.
We know that the compound was attacked. You've seen reports on that.
Oh, yeah.
I won't bore you once again with the details on how that all went, but you can get that timeline online and look for it quickly if you look for it.
The only part of the timeline that would concern me in that is the repeated calls for help, the orders to stand down during that whole timeline. That's when they're being attacked. So that's the importance of that timeline.
President Obama later addressed the nation saying, "Make no mistake, we will work with the Libyan government to bring justice to the killers who attacked our people." Glenn.
Work with our enemy? Excuse me, but I don't trust the Libyan government as far as I can throw them. This is absolutely insane. It's like Pakistan. Pakistan is protecting our enemy, and it's proof with Osama bin Laden, okay? Our generals are getting sick and tired of trying to play Mr. Nice with countries that are aiding our allies. But even more so, think about it. If you were a soldier, would you go into harm's way knowing that if you needed help, it wouldn't be there? Would you? This is fundamentally undermining our military cohesiveness. This is a fundamental problem. You can't work with the Libyans. I don't think they're going to be our answer.
We've got to do a quick finish here for the break, but it said he finished in saying, "Since our founding, the United States has been a nation that respects all faith. We reject all efforts to degenerate the religious belief of others, but there's absolutely no justification for this type of senseless violence. No act of terror will shake the resolve of this great nation, alter the character, or eclipse the light of the values that we stand for." He later met with State Department personnel privately, no press around.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Feeling overwhelmed in this fast-paced world where life seems more challenging and difficult to keep up? Between work, home, and family, do you have less energy to enjoy life than you had when you were younger?
According to recent clinical studies by leading medical universities, men lose the ability to produce testosterone as they age. Testosterone is a key hormone that impacts energy, strength, and desire.
Why lose it if you don't have to?
Restore how you felt when you were younger with Progene, a natural solution to a natural problem. Call now and learn how you can experience more power with Progene.
A performance supplement taken once daily, Progene restores the power, performance, and confidence you had when you were younger.
With testosterone precursors, Progene can help restore what aging has taken away, boost your energy at work, strength on the field, and desire in the bedroom.
Don't you want to feel the power you had when you were younger?
Call now and we'll send you a free 10-day sample of Progene.
In fact, we're so confident you'll feel more power with Progene that for the next 100 callers, we'll triple the offer and give you a full month absolutely free, a $70 value.
Get Progene and get back in the game.
Welcome back. We're talking about the Benghazi cover-up here. Greg, before the break, we were talking about the press release that come out stating that, you know, we're supposed to be, I guess, understanding and accepting of all these different religions. and beliefs and stuff, but we're not writing the rules over there. We're not. I can't tell somebody that hates me that they need to be tolerant of my religion, of Christianity. They don't care. That just because we're tolerant doesn't mean the enemy is. And let's call it what it is. They're our enemy. They are out to destroy America. And working with the Libyans is not going to get us here.
And unfortunately, the aggressor is always the one that sets the tone.
Right.
Here's a dumb example. If I end up, let's say I've got a weird brain tumor in my head and it's making me do irrational behavior, and I catch you walking off the stage to go talk with somebody, and I decide I'm going to, just because of my irrational behavior, I walk up behind you and I start attacking you and I wail on the back of your head with several punches. That'd be a terrible thing to do. But just for the sake of the discussion, who sets the tone for the engagement that I created?
The attacker.
Did I set the tone for using that example?
Absolutely.
So you have to respond based on what I did.
The only thing I can do is say, okay, wait a minute, Greg's got a tumor and he can attack at any time. So therefore,
you may not have known about the tumor.
Well, now I found out.
That's the reason.
I picked myself up off the
floor
and I found out.
No, you just, all you knew is I attacked you.
Okay, well, still, I don't even know why.
Later on, exactly. Later on, you might find out.
But I'm going to be gun shy of it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Even after you find out, you're going to be concerned to be around me for a while.
I'm going to make darn certain that
it never happens again.
It doesn't happen again. I'm not going to turn my back on you. Okay, that's really bottom line. I'm not going to turn my back because I don't know what's coming. That's the same thing we're doing with Al Qaeda here. We're not addressing what it really is going on. These people have a fundamental belief structure. The same thing that John Adams said to a letter in 1818 to Niles was, America was formed on a belief. It was a changing of from a religious to a philosophical belief. It was an idea that formed America. The revolution happened long before the gunfire. This is their revolution.
Take a look at how the transpiration came from there. An interview with President Obama the same day that he made those statements on September 12th in 60 Minutes. Steve Cross pressed the president on early accounts that the attack stemmed from a spontaneous protest, saying it didn't sound like a normal demonstration. President Obama said, we're investigating exactly what happened. I don't want to jump into this, but you're right. This is not a situation that was exactly the same as what happened in Egypt. And it's my suspicion that there are folks involved in this who are looking to target Americans from the start. Now keep going here. Meanwhile, Secretary of State Clinton visited the Near Eastern Asian Affairs Bureau and the Information Technology Bureau, where Sean Smith was assigned. CBS reported that she later referenced the assault as attack by a small and savage group. Meanwhile, senior Secretary of State officials were sharing the initial details of the attack via a press briefing over the phone. Senior officials said in response to an inquiry about the alleged protest outside the consulate that night, we frankly don't have a full picture of what may have been going on outside the compound before the firing began. With regards to whether any connection between this internet activity and extremism in Benghazi, frankly, we don't know. We're not going to know until we have a chance to investigate. CBS later reported that some of the U.S. officials were looking at the attack as a terrorist attack perpetrated by the people either associated with or who sympathized with Al Qaeda that took advantage of the protest, one of the two. FBI officially opened an investigation into the 4 Americans killed. September 13th, the government spokesman said the FBI is continuing to send investigators to Germany to interview the consulate personnel who were evacuated there.
Well, this is all fine and good after the fact, but during the attack, we should have had our troops on the ground, Greg. Go in there and protect our guys.
Sure, we should, because this is an act of war.
You are attacking U.S. sovereign nation property, and there was no response. So now here we are months later, and still, there's 10 terrorist training camps all around that embassy. And we haven't even said boo to any of them.
But then out of nowhere, check out the 14th. This is where the big thing was in the presidential debate. On the September 14th, the body of Stephen Smith, Woods, and Doherty are returned to the U.S. They're welcomed at a televised ceremony at the joint base at Andrews. Secretary Clinton publicly then denounced the innocence of Muslims video for the first time. That's when the shall we say, bait and switch actually started, was on the 14th. And then apparently she visited the Situation
Room. So 3 days after the attack.
Yes, on the 14th. So we start seeing protests outside of Sudan then. Then we start seeing, if you remember, over 20 nations started having protests. It got really ugly there for the first part.
Because we stirred it up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it had nothing to do with this video. I mean, people don't go to a spontaneous protest over a video that's been out for a long time that nobody's seen and show up with RPGs.
No.
It just doesn't happen.
September 16th, U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Susan Wright told Bob Schieffer on Face the Nation there was no information that suggested the attack was pre-planned. That's when she started going off on that. We want to see the results of the investigation before we draw any conclusions, but based on best information we have to date, what our assessment is as to the present fact is what began spontaneously as a reaction to what had transpired some hours ago in Cairo, where, of course, you know there was a violent protest outside the embassy sparked by this hateful video. So as you can see, by the 16th, they're in full gear.
We talked about this in our town hall. Do people trust what our government's telling us?
Nope.
Clearly, we can't trust. I mean, the point was made that they can't always go tell us what's going on. Mm-hmm. So how about say, listen, we know what's going on. We can't really talk about it. We're dealing with it. This will not go unaddressed. We are on top of it. At least come out and say that. But they didn't.
I don't argue it, my friend. Stand by, there's more to come. You're watching Liberty Town Hall.
It's been called the best concert ever. It's the 25th anniversary Rock and Roll Hall of Fame concert. God bless you, please, Mrs. Robinson. Featuring classic performances by the biggest names in rock and roll together on one stage. Now available on Blu-ray and DVD for just $39.99. And if you call in the next 10 minutes, we'll ship it for free. Don't miss out. Call now.
Call 1-800-472-8619 to order the 25th anniversary Rock and Roll Hall of Fame concerts on 3 DVDs for $39.99 and receive free shipping when you call in the next 10 minutes with your credit card.
And welcome back to Liberty Town Hall. We're discussing the Benghazi issue. And Greg, we're out of time on this show, but I guess I want to point out, we left our troops behind. Sovereign property of the United States has been violated. Our ambassador or diplomats have been killed, and we're doing nothing about it. How is that not undermining the entire belief structure of our military?
Well, it certainly is. And what we need to be doing right now is calling our congressmen and our senators.
Absolutely.
Whether you're senator or congressman, I don't care what side of the aisle they're on, this shouldn't be affected by politics of either side. This was just wrong, period. Call your senator, call your congressman, let them know, and tell your friends to do the same, that they need to demand closure on this and demand to know what really happened all the way through. This research needs to continue, and we hope that you'll be part of the change.
Absolutely.
Join us on
lame duck session on Congress or not, this has to be addressed.
Indeed it does. Join us for the next Liberty Town Hall. I'm Greg Marshall, that's Glenn Wilson. Also join us online, libertytownhall.com.
The right to freedom being the gift of God Almighty. It is not in the power of man to alienate this gift and voluntarily become a slave. These may be best understood by reading and carefully studying the Institutes of the Great Lawgiver and Head of the Christian Church, which are to be found clearly written and promulgated in the New Testament. Rights of the Colonists, Samuel Adams, November 20th, 1772.